Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. All the board members have been sworn in. I'm gonna read this and then we'll have the selection of officers. In the interest of preserving public confidence and the actions of this board, the chair reminds members of their duty to avoid any conflict of interest and inquire as to whether any member knows of any conflict of interest or potential conflict of interest with respect to matters to come before this board. Is there any this time? Seeing none, we will move forward, and I thank the county attorneys.
Do a roll call. Let's do a roll call real quick.
Okay.
Sir. Hey, Carolyn, can you do a roll call for us, please?
Yes, Brooks Bunn,
Here.
Candace Pierce,
Here.
Leroy Smith,
Here.
Steve Sutton.
Here.
Okay, and for those that are online, if you will, please state your name and your organization. Unmute
Eric
yourself.
Parent with the division.
Jordan Smith, Assistant Pitt County Attorney.
Jamie.
James Vincent, Pitt County Soil and Water.
Joshua Parker, Pitt County Soil and Water.
And this is Carolyn Garris, Pitt County Soil and Water. Is there anyone else online?
PJ Andrews is here.
Wait a minute, we're admitting some other folks right now. James Rhodes. Okay, so James Rhodes from the Planning Department has entered, and Rosie from NRCS has entered, and Commissioner Albright.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right.
Can everybody still hear and see?
Morning, office, it's still there.
All right. All right, I think we're good to go, Carolyn.
Okay, is everything ready to?
Roll call, we good.
Okay, with that, then time move ahead with the selection of officers for the next, for 1 year or 2 years.
That's just for the officers for this year. Jordan, would you like to take over from here, sir?
Sure, if that'd be appropriate. Jordan Smith, Assistant County Attorney. PJ asked me if I would aid in the election of officers. I think the question was, I believe, unless you have any by rules saying otherwise, the election would be for officers for 1 year. I would just recommend to the board that have these ground rules for the election of officers. I'll open up the floor. We need to elect a chair, a vice chair, and a treasurer and secretary today, I believe. And these ground rules will apply to all three offices. I'll open up the floor for nominations. Any member may nominate any other member for a position. A member may nominate him or herself for a position. Nominations do not require a second. If there are multiple nominations for one office, then we'll vote on those nominations in reverse order. A majority vote will win the office. And we'll do that in that process I just outlined first for chair, then for vice chair, and then for treasurer and secretary. If that makes sense to the board, and if there's are there any questions about that process I kind of laid out? Doesn't appear to be any. So with that, I guess we'll start with open the floor for nominations for the office of chair.
I would like to nominate Leroy Smith for chair.
That was Leroy Smith, right? I believe I heard that correctly.
That's correct.
Okay. Any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll close the floor to nominations. All in favor of Leroy Smith serving as chair, please say aye or raise your hand, because looks like that carries. Congratulations, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we'll move on to the office of vice chair. Open up the floor for nominations for vice chair.
I would like to nominate Brooks Bunn.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor of Brooks Bunn for vice chair, please say aye and raise your hand. Congratulations, Mr. Bunn. And lastly, open up the floor for nominations for secretary and treasurer.
I'd like to nominate David Collier.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor of David Collier serving as secretary treasurer, please say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Don't believe Mr. Collier's there, right? Congratulations to him. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Chair, Mr. Smith.
Thank you very much. That's very well.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jordan.
No problem.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I think we're in very good shape for his officers and moving forward. Approval of the meeting, minutes being for the last meeting, October 6th.
How about additions and deletions to the agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Addition, anybody have any of those?
I do.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
I would like to add, anywhere it pleases you, a discussion of creating a work plan for the board in conjunction with the staff.
Okay. Sounds excellent.
I would also, and this I'm just going to say right now because it's about elections. I never want to be elected to any office in this group, and no, I'm not using this as a springboard to the Senate. So
To what?
to the Senate. I mean, I'm not
well.
planning to go, this is I'm popped out now. So I do think it would be a good idea that when we change from the current chair to a new chair, whenever that may be, that we need to consider, instead of letting the old chair go away and not be available to the new chair, because the vice chair can never learn as much as the chair knows by sitting as the vice chair. So I would recommend, if we possibly can get it to work out, for whoever will be willing to be the chair after you aren't, for you to make sure that that's happening and you're still going to be here, because the vice chair won't know what he's supposed to be doing. And then so often the vice chair should have learned while he was being the vice chair, but that never happened in any group I've ever been with.
Candy, what you're saying is so true. And once I step aside and we get a new chairman, and I think that's an excellent idea, because there's so much that the chair has to do to be like it. How many times have we met at McDonald's in Winterville or the parking lot of Sam's just so I could sign my name 20 times and get the money moving and get lottery action and get the process of this board to work. So, I mean, I bet you, he and I have meet on average every 2 weeks. And he has a bunch of stuff, and we just sit in the truck, and that's not, we didn't go to McDonald's to do, we'll let you go in there. We sit there and talk, and I'd sign.
I think y'all sneak party with that thing.
That's just getting the mechanics of what goes on here. And I agree with you 100%.
The vice chair will never get that until he's sitting in the chair place. But if he was sitting in the chair place and you were available, or whoever was the next chair, that way, to start with, all three of you can make the parking lot, and he can sign and you can,
Well, let me assure you that anytime in my personal employer, when they call me now and ask me questions, and I've been retired almost 20 years, and I don't mind it at all. I have people from the towns call me about stuff. I don't mind at all. If I leave the board, I'll be available to the chairman anytime he needs. And the TJ. TJ knows he can call me anytime, anytime. So
you're leaving me out for what reason?
anything.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Any other? Anything else on that?
Now, did you decide where you were going to put me with our discussion of the work plan?
New business will be good.
Where?
New business will be fine.
Okay.
There.
Number 10?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 6 is approval of meeting minutes from October 6th. Has everybody been able to review it, and then, if there's any questions?
I make the approval.
Have a motion to approve? Have a second?
Second.
First and second, all approve of approving the, minutes of October 6th, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. Next item is, approval of January 2021 treasurer's report. Brooks.
All right, we have a starting budget, 23,535. Year-to-date expenditures are coming up to 65.9778. And, currently showing a remaining budget of 16,973.22. This puts us at 28% of our budget expended for the year.
Mr. Leroy, can you call for a vote and let Carolyn call for a vote being online? She needs to be able to make sure, for our minutes that they're approved correctly. Just say, Carolyn, can you call for a vote for the approval of the minutes, and then let everybody say yea or nay. Carolyn, can you hear me? Carolyn, can you hear us?
Hey, PJ, she's muted. I'll tell her to unmute real quick.
Yes, I'd like to call for a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented by Brooks Bunn.
Okay,
Vote to approve the treasurer's report.
all in favor, say, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Stand approved. Next item is the office report, PJ.
Okay, can everybody hear? I just got a
I
text.
can't hear long.
Okay.
I'm not hearing long. Right?
Okay. I'm sitting over here in the corner, we're trying to make sure we maintain our spacing. Our spring debris removal update from Matthew and Florence, Canita Creek, has been completed. We completed Canita Creek on November the 13th, thank goodness, because it hasn't stopped raining since that day. Everything has been completely underwater since then. So we have finished that part of that project, for the Florence funds. As far as the Matthew update goes, we do have some more funds sitting in the queue. We've been looking for, and selected some sites for the scope of work. So we're still in the process of that, but like I said, everything has been flooded, it seems like since mid-November here, with all the rain we get. So we're still currently working on that. So we should have some information to bring back at the next couple of meetings, if the water will ever recede some. B, the memorandum of agreement between all the agencies. That paperwork has been sent off. We got all the correct signatures finally that we needed between all the different agencies. That's been submitted to NRCS for some other signatures, so we're kind of waiting on the final copy of that. So that's been completed as well. Thanks to Janice and that crowd for helping us with the legal department with that. That was something that had been done for quite some time. C, our office program report or review. Your report, that report is actually the 11 by 17 pieces of paper that the board members have here currently in the office. Lisa Fine from the division came down on November the 10th and did a office review with Josh Vetter, and I think Eric Perry was involved as well with that. Thank goodness we passed with flying colors for the office review part, and then she came back on December the 10th and went and did field visits. So we pulled X amount of contracts and we took her out in the field, obviously in separate vehicles due to COVID, with that in mind, and we looked at all the different projects we had installed over time and all passed. Our farmers and agriculture producers are doing a very good job maintaining those best management practices. That was good to see. Considering the weather we've had and seeing these BMPs still hold up, it's a really good sign. So we're very thankful for that. Lisa Fine with the division office out of Raleigh will be attending our March meeting. We will be making comments on the plan that she sent us, and she will present this to the board at the March meeting coming up. So just be expecting her to give a full report on the office and the field visit. The next thing, obviously, our budget kickoff meeting went well. Our current budget upcoming meeting will be April the 1st, 2021. It's hard to believe, but it'll be from 10 to 10:30, and I'm probably going to have that on every agenda from here on out so we don't forget, because that's very important. Obviously, with COVID, sales tax, there's a lot of things going on. We're very thankful that Pitt County seems to be in very good shape. So I'll have that on every meeting agenda from here on out, but that's a very important meeting that Chairman Smith and Dr. Collier will also be involved in with that meeting. It's for our budget. So. My last item I have is election update. Dr. Collier obviously is our new board member. We're very thankful to have him aboard. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Well, I will just say that I took Dr. Collier on a field trip to Cliff Rock's tilapia farm. And he's very interested in that type of animal waste, and we had an excellent meeting out there. There's 3 different things in that component of that actually we put in a system with NC State to treat the waste from the tilapia farm. Plus, when he had his well failed on him, and he was having to haul water from a long distance to have water that had the right pH to put into the fish. That was very cool, because that well has. And that well can pump 8,000 gallons an hour. I didn't realize that.
Wow.
But that's a significant water source that we participate in making sure a food producer can stay in business. And also, he had a terrible problem with erosion and the deterioration of access from one parcel of land to another. And the supervisor for the new Southwestern Drainage was very helpful in getting that resolved. And so I've got to say that so far, with what I have seen with the new supervisor for the drainage districts, he's doing a lot of work, and he is really, I think he's got a long learning curve, but I think he's doing a very good job. And I attribute a lot to the fact that we were proactive in trying to move forward with that. So, okay. Anything else, TJ?
No, sir, that's all I have at the moment.
Okay, next item is call share Josh Potter.
Yes, sir. How's everybody doing this morning? Good to see everyone.
All right.
Good. We actually have paid out 11 cost share contracts this year of 2020, in the total amount of $64,895. So we had a really good year getting contracts done, completed, and all the payments processed in 1 year. So that was a huge step for us. We have a total of $4,812 left in our ag cost share program, and we have $3,636 left for our ag wrap program. And if you have any questions or anything, but that is all I have to report on.
Okay, so there's nothing to vote on, right, TJ?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, Josh.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, next item is number 8, the education update, Carolyn.
Good morning, everyone. Our poster contest rollout will take place next week. That will be going out to all the schools. I'm preparing a slideshow for the teachers to share with their students. So I look forward to getting posters in. Second, the Coastal Envirothon, we are going virtual. This will be a virtual event that will take place in March, and the state is also going virtual. And we are working towards that very diligently with the committee, our advisors, and teams. And we're just about to that point where we finished the online testing. We have a few other things, and I'm happy to report that we have received 2 grants for the Coastal Envirothon. I applied for a grant through Weyerhaeuser Giving Fund, and received a grant for $3,000 to help buy tablets for the Coastal Envirothon. And we also applied for a grant from Ag Carolina, and we received $2,500 to purchase wildlife resources for our wildlife boxes. So I'm very happy to report that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to say something here, if it's
Yes,
appropriate.
ma'am.
Since everyone, in my high college students, one's playing the French horn, and all their work is being done online, including how to play a French horn. So this isn't going to change anytime soon, because even when we're all healthy and they can go back to school, they will still have decided that online teaching is a better way for many students. Sometimes not, they'll put those back in school. I think that we could create several, maybe 3 different kinds of online classes that are available. Like kindergarten kids have a little place they dial into, and they have to find 6 squares in their house. My granddaughter edits. She gets a bunch of stuff, and her job is to edit through them, and that gets great. And that if we had the national, the NACD has a free product that you can download, and healthy forests equal healthy communities. People are sitting in their homes so bored. I've watched Game of Thrones 3 times. So the public doesn't know that's available. So if through our education program, we had a way to make that available, and that's already done. And then our educator would create a YouTube video, I don't know what it is, but the VIO knows how to make a thing outside of, beyond the Envirothon, something more than just the Envirothon. Because I think the Envirothon is good, but it leaves a whole bunch of kids out and a whole bunch of adults out, because adults would be involved if they could see it in all age groups, so that we could have, I'm sure you know more about what kind of education would be helpful. But when you first got me, the first thing you said is, we need to be doing more education, Candy, and we need for children to know where they get food, Candy. And we want you to do that, Candy.
Amen. Well, good.
I'm still working on that.
Thank you
So
very much.
I think that this is not an unreasonable suggestion.
I think it's wonderful.
And if we can just not focus only on that, and during our work plan session, if we can decide, are we doing the waters table? Are we doing, this is a conservation district. How do these children know how to conserve if no one's taught them anything? And if they're at home, they're teaching them math and history and how to find 5 squares. So someone may be leaving out you know how much water a tree drinks, because kids don't know that. You can tell when you talk to them when they're 20, that they just don't know that. You can tell when you're talking to kids about that these French fries did not come on a tree, and they weren't French fries when they were grown. They had to start with potato. So I think that it's part of our mission, our stated mission, that we provide service to all Pitt County citizens concerning the conservation of our natural resources through technical excellence, education, and teamwork. Well, I think we got technical excellence going on.
Very good.
Education, I don't think we're doing as well as we could do under this particular COVID situation. And teamwork, I think their team's probably working fine, but our team's doing nothing. So, and I know that Steve, for instance, got fish. He has a job that requires him to be at a special place. Neither you nor I are actually working, and it's possible that we could help somehow. There are towns in this county that have no idea what we do. They have no idea what we're supposed to do. They don't even have the idea who to call when they're having a problem. Fountain feels underserved. Bethel has no clue. Stokes is, they don't know that they could even call. So I think that getting that information to them in some format I don't know if it's a postcard, a phone call, a visit, standing 15 feet away and hollering at them, but a way to access it online and send them the connection. But I think that it would help us to help them, because the city of Greenville has trouble remembering that the city of Greenville is inside the city. And I mean, it's inside Pitt County. It is Pitt County. The water goes where it wants to. You'll notice the river is real full. It's not because the ocean's full. It's because we're not having as much drainage as we do. And we need to, I think, get more involved in that, in trying to do outreach to people. And in my particular situation, I believe that farming was a much better society with closeness of families, trading off with each other, than what we're having with urbanization and industrialization. However, that's not what's going to happen. And the city council of Greenville is going to vote, no matter what anybody says, for more and more and more development. As long as we do it with a lot of rules and a lot of care, then that might be okay.
Well, I've been on my soapbox for a long time that all the drainage system designed 45, 50 years ago in this county for farming has been overwhelmed by the development in the wonderful Greenville area. And all that runoff, every time another 5 acres is paved, that water's running straight off at the other side end. So the drainage system was designed 50 years ago, is now overwhelmed by what the city of Greenville is on there.
Leroy, do you remember when we had the annexation of that piece of property out at, was it Edwards Mill Road? It's the one that we had to go visit the guy.
I think it was.
Anyway, it was 3 miles away from the edge of the ETJ, so it was way out of whack.
I know exactly where it is.
Although you and I think that Don Parrott was involved in that somehow. Many people on the city council don't know Don Parrott they think he's older than I am, so they don't even know he exists, much less being manipulated by him. But you would not allow us as a board, me as representing the board, or PJ, to go and make a statement. Then Ephraim Smith did stand up for the Southeastern Drainage District to make a statement, which was excellent. However, we're the board, the county thinks should be making that statement. And if we stand up enough and say with pictures, this is what's happening if you say yes to this annexation, it's not just about the Greenville Utilities Commission, it's about this is where the water is going to go. The city council can learn, and they might change their mind on some of the most egregious and far-reaching developments. And if we don't try, we certainly won't win. And if we're in a big construction boom right now, and Wayne Eubanks, that the city inspector's dead, so they're understaffed and pro-development. So it's possible that things are sliding through now. They could be plugging through, but things are sliding through now that if we would get involved in some, that we might could slow down until someone could get a grip on it. Because we can't come out of this recession by making ourselves more vulnerable to water, or we'll be standing around. We're not developing anything.
But that's good points, but what I have proposed for a long time is that the city of Greenville use their stormwater money to purchase the outlying areas that they're causing the flood, that didn't flood years ago, and buy it out and turn it into greenway space. Of course, that has not gotten anywhere.
This particular council will not do that.
I don't think any one of them is going to do it. because
Well,
that's
they
what I
may
proposed.
eventually, but this one is just not going to do that. They're going to say, and I do not include everyone on the council, but the mayor's not going to say it, Will Litchfield's not going to say it, Will Bell's not going to say it, Byron Meyerhopper's not going to say that. They're going to say, we need to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Exactly.
And if we are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and People are going to sell their farms because they can make more money doing that than they can do, and they've let their family fall apart, or are not responsible farmers, or whatever. There are lots of reasons people sell their farms. But with the farming community, it is in the farmer's best interest not to have his pigs swimming, his chickens drowning, and his crops not come in. So they're good stewards of water control. Builders are not. They want the cheapest way to get as many lots and houses. And I came from that. I used to do that, but I never did it that way. And if we refuse to make a statement when the time comes, we're wasting time when we could. So they say no to one more group of people saying no. There's that.
Okay.
And that was, are we on to the new business that I'm supposed to be talking about instead of the rant? I just.
Any old business before we get to new business? Anyone have any old business they want to bring up this morning? Okay, new business, NACD dues.
Carol, that's Carol. Carol, are you there? You're muted.
Yes, I'm here.
The NACD dues.
Yes, Brooks and I discussed this when he stopped by the office when we were going over the agenda and treasurer's report. The dues are something that we pay each year. Just a reminder, we typically pay around $500. Last year, we only paid $20 at the recommendation of Tom Best. So this is entirely up to the board, whatever your pleasure is. So that is up for discussion for you.
What do we normally pay?
Well, we paid $20 last year, the year before we paid $500. What was the reason for? I don't think we felt like we were getting anything out of it. I don't know what we get for the money we spend for that. What do we get for that money, Carol?
Chairman Smith, NACD is our lobbyist group. They're out at the forefront talking to our senators, our legislatures, and other organizations. They're a voice for the district at places that we can't be.
Now where do they lobby? DC?
I'm sorry, sir. It's hard for me to hear you.
I know. I can't hear much either. Do they lobby in DC or where?
Yes, sir. They're our voice in DC. Yes, sir.
Okay, so do you and TJ have a recommendation?
Last year is the first year we didn't do 500. So, I mean, this is strictly a board decision, whatever you would like.
We do, in looking at our budget, Chairman Smith, if you'll look at the NACD paper, at the bronze level, 500, at the gold level is 750. Now, our budget will accommodate either amount, whether it be 500 or $750. So I will leave that to the pleasure of the board.
Let's see, they got Candy?
I moved with spending $750 because they're representing us and we can't go to DC and represent us.
Small detail, looked like on the paper, it's 775 to the other goal, but 775 looks like the level to get to gold. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Yeah.
Then I'm in the motion to get the goal. I think we're a great big county with a great big population.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to fund it this year at the level of $775. Do I have a second? So.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. We have just voted to increase our contributions substantially, Carol. That will go forward, okay?
Great.
Okay, number 10, Candy.
Okay. many boards, everyone I've ever been involved with, but many, even those I wasn't involved in, create with staff a work plan that is not something that is like written in stone and has to happen, but goals that, for instance, like the education things, goals that we might want to stand up in front of the city council or somebody, or that we might want to make a presentation to the county commissioners based on what the assessment that the subcontractor and PJ are doing. That if we have a written down plan, then we are not waiting until you're going out and signing pieces of paper in a truck at McDonald's, which that's good. However, the rest of us are not doing anything really, except coming to this meeting or not coming to this meeting because of COVID. And I'm not saying we should do things until we're allowed to through COVID. I'm merely stating we should make a plan. And then that way we can determine where we're moving forward. PJ has a direction he knows we want to move forward. And it's something that I believe the chair, if you're doing all that and with PJ, I don't think an email telling us what you did sort of would be bad, because I feel totally not in this teamwork part. And I'm willing to be in this teamwork part. I would like some information, and it seems like that PJ, you've already got it. So if, like the thing about the farm, the tilapia farm, I would love for you to have written that up or put a picture on there.
Okay. If I started ranking up all the things I do, to promote soil and water quality, like, we have gotten so much good press out of the Farmville area with the cleanup, because the last time they had a major rain there, the water backed up like it did before, but it got out. It didn't linger on the road.
And you have lots of information on that.
Well, I have people that monitor it for me.
Yes, but do you
I
know how
went
much
over-
Candy would like to know that?
I went over after Hurricane Floyd with a trailer, a truck and a trailer, and it's because the water was coming towards a friend of mine's house from towards the radio station in Farmville. I said all day with him, but he had to get his stuff out. And so that's one of the reasons when they wanted to stop on Ballard's Crossings, I told PJ, we need to go into Farmville and help the drainage over there if we can. And do it, and it's so far, but people don't realize that right now today, Steve does and Brooks does do, because we're about 15 to 16 inches above rainfall for the last 12 months. And that is significant.
I
That
would
is
like,
significant.
even if it's troublesome for you as chair, for you to include some of that stuff. You can call me on the phone, and that way you won't have to write. Okay. Or you can write it, and then we'll all know. I think that's the teamwork part, because if you're doing lots and lots of stuff and I'm doing zero, then I wouldn't have run for election to this thing if I was planning to do zero.
I'm working hard with the town of Wonderful to create a mega park. And we're trying to, and that's just one of three areas some things I've wanted to do for a long time. And it's getting, and it's gonna be a major conservation project too. And I'm on TV, I can't say too much, but anyway, it's gonna be major for Greenville and Winnable.
You can tell me, and I'm not on TV.
Okay, you want to go, but anyway, Candy is always a excellent suggestions, and I guess what we need is you to put this into a letter to the board of how you want to progress in 2021 with your ideas.
I will, and then we can discuss it, and you can say, I hate that idea, this idea might work, and I've got a better idea.
I think that we will, let's progress like that.
What? Do we need to form maybe as a committee, maybe form an outreach ambassador? Maybe,
That might be an excellent idea.
and have someone to, it's like Candy that's involved in the different groups, in different areas.
I think it's
Just
excellent.
go there and and present the soil and water agenda
I would love to do that.
to, in different towns and wherever we may have influence, and help them to offer guidance to them if they choose to do that.
Or Rotary clubs, or anybody that has to have a program, if we could create a program, I certainly have already been under and on top of every building in Pitt County, so going and saying, this is what we do. And they're looking for a program all the time.
Maybe we need to look at having established a person that would fulfill that outreach process, even more so than if somebody was to say something to me about it, and I said, well, look, you need to contact the Pitt County Soil and Water Board, but also with attention to Candy Pierce, because they are, whoever would hold that, whoever would have that responsibility.
And I think that David Collier, and I don't know about Wilford, definitely has a different viewpoint, but it's all good.
Yeah.
And do we have a committee to create?
Well, I
outreach
think,
and
I think we could have, I think, and this would be a question the answer for somebody else, but I think all the answers would have to come from a committee and not a subcommittee within the committee, because that would be against the law or something like that, but at least it would be brought to the committee, the board here, and to arrive at some answers or solutions
or pieces of paper. Documentation that you think someone, whoever it is, could go and take outreach, and we can't do it when we've got COVID. We'll come out.
Right.
But something that can be sent to them saying, we may not be the solution to all your problems, but we're the first person you should call. If you're really worried about what.
That's right.
Well, let's see, we will meet again, we'll be here.
March. The next meeting will be March, so say the exact date.
Okay, that's okay, well,
So why don't we
March 2nd.
email you what our various thoughts are? And then your choice is whether to email it to everyone.
okay.
Or we can all copy each other. I just don't know if that's legal. So we're not a quasi judiciary group, so it probably is. I think our attorney said that, but I think that we could talk about what we thought would be a good thing for us to be doing next, just through emails to each other.
Okay.
And I've noticed that when you send someone an email, even if they're busy, they sometimes take, 10 minutes to answer the email, even if they were getting around to writing on themselves.
Okay, sounds good.
And that's all I have.
Okay.
And I'm willing to rewind whenever you need it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Is there any public comment at this time from anybody that's on Zoom? Big James, how you doing?
Hey, Mr. Chair, congratulations on another year ahead of you.
Got raised.
Hey, just to follow up, I know a couple of you were mentioning about the annexation on Mills Road, and I've mentioned a couple of times before, we're right in the process of updating our land use plan in that area along NC 43, and we bubbled out around Hollywood's Crossroads to kind of incorporate that area that's been annexed by the city. So yes, we've had a lot of discussion. We've had Kendall Paramore on a number of our meetings with the Drainage Commission just to talk about issues associated with stormwater. And we're right now at the final stages. We'll be taking our planning board, the draft plan to our planning board in February in a couple of weeks, and then on to the commissioners in March. So we are starting to get a lot better idea of what the city's proposing, and not just the city, but Greenville Utilities. Greenville Utilities is going out for a bid on sewer force main for a large area that will service that, I'll say downtown Hollywood Crossroads. And that line most likely will be active in the next year. So you'll see things changing fairly rapidly in that area within the next 3 to 5 years, I'd say. So just know it's coming, and we are looking at stormwater. I'll flip over and talk a little bit about the stormwater regulations for the county and also for the city for that matter, because the state is updating our required minimum standards for stormwater controls. So in a lot of respects, our regulations are going to be more stringent, and we'll be holding back more water on site before it's released into some of these creeks and streams. So hopefully that'll help. Is that going to cover all the issues associated with the runoff in that area? Probably not, but it can only help. And most likely, the way it's looking now, these stormwater regulations will need to be in effect within the next year. So that's kind of two interrelated things I just want to at least make you aware of.
Thank you, James. But is there any community you know of where they're using their stormwater money to buy out land and they're causing the flood?
Yes, there are some communities, and I know the city of Greenville just recently put in for some funding through FEMA. I don't know if their project is actually moving forward. The state had to review it first and bless it, but they were looking at acquiring some properties for stormwater purposes. Again, larger tracts where that pretty much the idea you mentioned earlier, Leroy, about having open space dedicated for stormwater retention for a certain period of time. And as we know, a lot of those areas are getting taken up for development right now. So if we don't get them in the near future, they're probably not going to be available in some of these strategic areas. So there are communities that have done that. They're limited in number, but I know the city is looking at that. I don't know how well they're scoring in that respect, though.
Well, thank you, James. That was one thing when I was appointed by the governor to the Clean Water Management Trust Fund. I told Mike Easley that I'm for preserving as much land as I possibly can because of the mass population. And I was appointed to Clean Water back 22 years ago. And the population of the state is almost doubled in that time. And the thousands and thousands and thousands of acres we bought and put aside is one of the best investments the state of North Carolina's ever made. Thank you. Commissioner Albright?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. It's good to see everybody, and I appreciate all the information. I am glad to, I think I missed the October meeting, and I missed the updates maybe on the how the drainage districts were getting resolved, and that's really good to hear the progress there. My only question for the group right now, I think, would be if there still is any interest at all in looking at the areas of the county that are not serviced by a drainage district. You know, Candy mentioned Fountain, and we've had some help from Soil and Water, but I think that areas like Fountain and Farmville, where we're not paying into the system, if we were, and if there, I realize this would be an enormous project to take on the rest of the county, but we flood in Fountain and we're not paying anything. 258 floods pretty regularly. And I like Candy's notion of a work project, and if the group were interested, I would love to see a little more investigation into that possibility. I know James could probably tell us all the difficulties that we would encounter in trying to do such a thing, but it might be worth considering, and especially again with all that good press that we got in this group got in Farmville. It seems like there might be some less resistance to a small levy on their taxes to help with this circumstance where people like me are not paying anything into the system.
Think, James, about whether we would rather do that or go for another bus ride or two.
I didn't understand your question. I'm sorry.
It wasn't a question. I was making a comment.
Oh, I didn't understand what you said. I'm sorry.
Okay, we went on 2 different bus rides, which took several $1,000s worth of the county's money because one of the county commissioners was very, very unhappy about what was going on in her district. And it may be if we got information to those people before they wanted a bus ride, that might help. And I'm speaking of Fountain now, not the bus rides we previously did. But Fountain would be an even more cumbersome bus ride.
Okay. Any more public comment? Okay, thank you very much. The next meeting is March the 2nd. Is there anything that needs to come up at this time? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, all in favor, say aye. We stand adjourned. Very good meeting. Thanks, everybody, for being on.
Thank
very much.
you.
Thank y'all. Thank you.